I gotta let you guys know that Valentine's Day might be my least favorite holiday.
Really?
And
Wow.
I'm gonna start this episode off by saying I suck at Valentine's Day. I'm a
Mm.
self admitting today's the day after Valentine's Day, by the way, if you're watching this. So it's fresh in my mind how much I suck at Valentine's Day. And maybe it's because like it it's like a day of the week, like it's a Tuesday, or no, it's Wednesday, this year. And it's just like it's another day, and I
Mhm.
work all day and then get off work, and it's like, how do you make it special? But I'm really bad at Valentine's Day. I did the
Mm.
obligatory like order some flowers, that
Well, then
kind
you're
of
not
thing.
that
But
bad. You're not that bad. That's like what I would say like 90% of men do is get flowers and like some chocolates and maybe a gift, but like flowers I feel like is the most common thing. Like that's pretty much what everybody does, right?
yeah, but
Well,
I could have gone further. I could have written like a note, or confessed my love in a sappy way, or just
you
I
you
could have
could have
had
got a
my heart on my
really you could have got a really big bear balloon. That's what you
Yeah,
could
I
have
4 foot
could
bear.
I
Four
could
foot bear.
have done the bear balloon route, which clearly has worked for you.
That thing is freaking huge. It's
That
pretty
thing is
ridiculous.
massive.
It's yeah, so it was like 50% because of my wife and 50% for my daughter. So uh that thing is big. But that's like the only thing I really did for Valentine's Day. I bought that and then I ordered dinner in from Uber Eats so that we could have like a nice chill,
I did that. I did that
evening.
as well.
Okay. Okay,
Smart.
see, there you go. There you go. So I mean,
But there wasn't
kind of
like
sounds like
rose
I suck
petals
too.
leading to the door, going into the bed,
But
There
who
wasn't like
that
bubble
you
bath.
Okay, let's be honest though, who actually does that? The only time I feel like that people do that is if they're like in the dating phase or like they have a fiance or newly married or something, right? But like people who've been married for a long time, like I would say that like there's 1% of them that are probably like leaving rose petal trails in their house.
Well, dude, that 1%, they're really loud on social media.
Oh
So
boy.
so my wife sees that 1%, okay? And all I'm trying to say is like I think a good topic of discussion is how do we like actually think about our relationships, and not just like our wives, of course, or our spouses, but like the way that we like work life balance our relationships. And I think
Mm.
this one is actually a really fascinating topic because for me, I'm really compartmentalized, and
Mm.
JC, my wife, and I have talked a lot about this. Like when I'm in work mode, I am so in work mode, and sometimes that means I'm neglecting other things, especially if I don't know how to turn off that work mode. So I just want to ask you guys like about how you think about like your romantic relationships, of course, but then also like with your kids. We're all dads here. Like how do you kind of like do both, especially working from home, being
Mhm.
business owner, like all of this stuff. Like it's hard. I get off work and it's like
Yeah.
my phone is still blowing up. How do I like spend quality time with the people that I
Mm.
love in a way that's actually intentional? It's something I'm learning. I'm asking really because I think I'm bad at it. I'm upon
Mm.
self reflection. It's something I want to get better at.
Yeah, I think it's something I want to get better at too. I think the answer really is two things. I think it's organization and I think it's discipline. I think those are like the two strongest things to help with that because the basically if you have an organized schedule, right, and you block out time, and this is something that I've recently been doing because I think I was not doing this before and it was a mistake, but is I'm actually putting time on my calendar every single day to like go outside, get some sun, hang out with my daughter, and like just separate away completely from the desk for a bit and like leave my phone in here and stuff. And I never used to do that before. I would try to just like take my lunches when I could or whatever. But now that I feel like I have some like it's on my calendar, like on a block, right? And it's something that I'm just like, okay, if I'm disciplined about this, right? And I just say, hey, look, I'm going to make sure that I make time for this. I think that like that at least has been helping me. I'm not perfect at it. There's been multiple days since I started doing this that like I still wasn't disciplined enough to be like, hey, let me just like actually cut off right now. But I
Yeah.
think that is the answer to that question, right? Because if we're not organized, then then basically the messiness of our day is going to just like, it's going to allow us to live in that space that you're talking about, right, where we're thinking about work constantly and we're all over the place, right? But yeah, at least that's how I see it. Maybe there's a better way to be thinking about it, but I feel like organized discipline is kind of the answer, at least logically speaking.
What about like, do you talk about work at the dinner table?
um
Like does work seep into the personal moments? Like,
it depends. I think that
yeah.
it can. I think that if like something is like, if there was something that really bothered me that day, or maybe I have like a really big decision to make and I want like to hear my wife's opinion on like her feedback, or or how she would think about something, then I bring it up. But like if it's been a like totally normal average day, then typically no, I don't.
I'm the same way, but I feel like it's hard, that I've realized lately is the bigger our company gets, Caleb, and like the more things we do, the more I feel like JC is out of touch with the business,
Mm,
and she wants to be involved, like she wants to be in touch with it, and she wants to know what's going on. But at a certain point, I'm in my head, I'm like, well, how detailed do I go here? Because I could talk for
right,
years about all the stuff that we're doing. You know what I mean?
right,
And so the
right.
dinner table conversation, I go through this thing in my head where she's like, "How was work today?" I'm like, "How deep do I go?" Like there there were 30 moments where I felt really good, and about 500 where I felt stressed out and like I needed to change something. And you know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
that weighs on me a little bit, because like I feel like the more intense your work life gets, the more you almost have to bridge that gap with your wife, or your your partner, on like, how do I keep them involved and like in the loop without
Hmm.
also like bringing the baggage with me, out of
Mm,
work.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm curious about that, for you guys, like Matthew, and if you have input on it too. I'm just like,
Mhm.
because for me, like I don't want to tell JC stressful work stories and her to like only hear stressful stories. But a lot of times that's the stuff that I'm thinking about, right? It's like, how do I
Yeah.
solve this problem? It's very rare that I'm not thinking about how do I solve this problem, right?
Yeah.
But I also don't want that to like be me, be who I am. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It's like,
mhm,
how do you do
mhm.
that tightrope? It's challenging.
I think I have the luxury of not having to have like the huge like company shifting decisions like on my side of things. So when Nicole asks me like, "How was your day?" I can be pretty. Like, I'm not going to go into detail and be like, "Oh yeah, I wrote like 4,000 words of something for this like client. What do you think about real estate offers?" I'm not going to do anything
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I'll just give it like a quick like, this was good, this is what I need to work on kind of thing, just like 30,000 foot. But um like for me, when you guys and like your wives ask you that question, that's very different, because you're thinking so big picture, and you're thinking, what direction is the company going? How do we steward it well? How do we grow like responsibly? How do we take care of the people that are already on the team? Like for me, it's like I have my work, and how I work during that day and how much I get done dictates that kind of like switch off.
Like how you
Um,
feel. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's like my temperature check. Like, if I've got a ton of assignments to do and I don't finish them all on the day that I wanted to finish them, that's going to affect my mood, as I come off, because I'm someone who just like kind of beats himself up and gets frustrated
Sure.
if I don't feel like I'm operating at the right level. But for you guys, it's like a completely different mindset of, you'd be lucky to have the amount of time I have to actually like focus on specific tasks, basically. So,
I wouldn't have it any other way. But I
okay.
would say this. Okay, here's an example. Okay. Do you okay? This I have to say this with tact, because I feel, but I think everyone will relate to this, which is,
Mhm.
do you have someone in your life that maybe your spouse doesn't see in the same light as you? Maybe because you're closer to them as a person. So I'm thinking family member. It could be one of your family members that you grew up with. Like, or it could be, a friend of yours or whatever, where, this has been like someone that you have context for, a lot of context for, because you've spent a lot of time with them in separate occasions, and your
Mhm.
significant other doesn't have that same context for them. And so when you tell a story about that person, or you even just want to like vent something to your wife about this person, you kind of have the understanding that if they only hear that story about that person, they're going to think that that person's not a good person. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right,
Like
right,
you don't
yeah.
have the full picture.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about work sometimes, where it's
Mm.
like if I get asked how's work going, and I really want to talk about like a problem that I'm facing, or
Mm,
something that
mhm.
one of the team members did, or something that's bothering me, but I want to do
Yeah.
it in a way that like doesn't make JC think that they're a bad employee. You know what I mean? Because they're not.
Right,
All of our employees are
right.
great employees, but like everyone
Yeah.
wants to talk about the bad. And so I find a hard time. I find it hard to like basically like make a well-rounded discussion about how work is going where
Yeah.
the
Mm.
context is presented. You know what I mean? And it
Right,
doesn't just sound
right.
like, things are crazy right now, because they're not. They're good, but it's like
Yeah.
what comes out when you talk about it to your significant other is like things are crazy right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly, yeah.
it's just a
It's
weird
and
thing, but
it
in-laws are the same way.
it
Mm.
is, man, and I think that's something special, though, about, like, having a partner, right, that you can have those conversations with, right? Because I think part of the reason why some of those, like, negative things come up in conversation there is because they're the one person that you feel comfortable enough to say some of that
Trust. Yeah.
stuff around, right? And that you trust completely, and I think
Yep.
that's a cool thing about having a partner, and so it's just balance, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously like a goal of mine obviously is to just be positive whenever I can, and like try to speak into like the good, right, as much as I can, but at the
Mm.
same time I I have a great relationship with my wife to where I can be honest about things too, and I think it's all just a balance, dude. But yeah, you're spot on in that, like, it's very easy to tell a story like that, and then all of a sudden now, like, oh, well, that person's like probably not the best.
Why are they even on
you
your
know
team? Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly. Like that
exactly.
sort of
It's like,
thing.
"Whoa,
Like,
no,
wait, no, you
no,
don't get it.
no."
I love this person. I'm just trying to tell you, like, hey, this kind of sucked today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, dude, it's a tightrope. I think like if I had a goal, it would be to do exactly what you said, Caleb, which is like set some time during the day, midday, where it's like, whether it's lunch break or whatever it is, just get away from the computer, do a little refresh, see the people that you want to see, talk, like people that work in office is obviously harder, but those of us that work at home, it's
Mhm.
like, I can go downstairs, hang out with my wife and my kids, and like just get a breath of air. But if I don't schedule that, it will not happen.
Right.
My calendar will get filled, like, and I haven't been scheduling that. So I like that you
That's
said
what I'm
that.
saying,
I'd
man.
like to try it.
It's there you go. So if you're watching this, here's a hack. Okay, after you're done watching this video, open up your Google Calendar, put a time block there, and actually spend time with your family and your kids. Go do it. Go do it.
Yeah, dude.
It's gonna help. It's gonna help.
It's good.
Have
Yeah,
to.
you
Now,
have
what
to.
happens if you have meetings at noon every day? Because I'm looking at my next week. What I do? Oh
I
man,
mean,
we'll
I
figure
mean,
that one
it,
out later.
yeah, you'll figure it out. I like some days I'm doing it at like 2 o'clock. Other days I'm doing it at like 11 a.m. It's just like
Yeah.
it's whenever. It's
Mhm.
I think
yeah,
the other hack here for me at least is when I get off work, like I've said this before, but like my phone is like personal use only after work. Like, and even then I don't really want to be on my phone, but I'm not
hmm
like getting slacks or emails. I'm not checking any of that. Like I can't, for my own stress level, I can't like check it, especially after like 7 p.m. because then I
yeah,
won't be able to sleep. I'll be
right,
like, man, so and so asked this thing. I got to go do that now. I'm just
yeah,
not the type of person that can sleep with that on my mind. So I think that helps too when you're trying to be intentional with family time. But yeah, I guess I wanted to kind of like pivot into like the romantic side of things, because I think us three here have kind of unique stories, which is that we're young, relatively speaking. We're early 30s or just turning 30 ish, and we've all been married for a
I'm
substantial
so
amount of
old
time.
now. So old.
31, Caleb, almost.
Well, yeah,
Whew.
I'm 30. Okay, I turned 31 this year. Oof.
June, is
Here
it
we go. Here we
June,
go.
right?
June, yeah, June. Hey, my
Yeah,
wife
man.
turns 31 this weekend, so hey,
So we're
she's
all
she's
getting we're all
old.
getting a little bit old, but relatively speaking, as far as like our generation is concerned, we got married young. We've been
We
married
did.
for a good amount of time. And just to share, I think it'd be fun to share a little bit about like our stories of how we like met and found our
Mm,
wives, because going through that is interesting for people to hear. And for me, it's really pivotal to who I am. Like
mm,
I am a lot of who I am because of JC and our story. And I don't think I would have
Mhm.
even a measure of the success that I've had, like profession wise or like work related, if I didn't have her.
totally agree.
Uh,
Totally
yeah,
agree.
and so I think that what's interesting is you'll see a lot in like the hustle culture, people saying like, "Don't date, don't get married young, focus on your career, go for it." And it's like, hey guys, I got married at 20. I've been married almost 10 years. I'm in the most successful years of my life. I didn't spend my early 20s grinding it out and focusing only on that. It's like, no, I was living life with my wife and
Mhm,
traveling and doing the thing and learning who I was. And
mhm.
I think the idea that you have to figure out who you are before you get married is totally garbage. If you marry the right person, you grow into who you are with that
Mhm.
person.
With them,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I just want to talk about that a little bit, because yes, I I think like young people are being kind of led astray in that way. Like the age of marriage is getting older and older. People are having fewer and fewer kids. Kind of scary for the population of the earth, not going to lie. Like birth rates are declining at a rate where we will start losing population overall. Like I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys have seen those stats. That's real. So just saying, but neither here nor there. At the end of the day, like you can get married young and still be a successful person, like obviously.
Mhm.
But people seem to be
Mhm.
spinning it the other way. So Caleb, you start us off. Like tell us a little bit about, you know, you and Tori, and kind of how you
Yeah,
think that's
I'll
played into your career and success and things like that too.
totally, yeah. So, our story is, like, very classic in the, like, high school sweethearts type story, right? So, Tori and I met when we were 16. We were in high school, and it's a pretty funny story. It was AP English class, and I remember I sat behind her, and I was poking her with my pencil and being that annoying high school kid, and she thought I
Yep.
was annoying as heck, and I definitely was. I definitely was. But yeah, I mean, like we basically, got to know each other through that class, right? Then we go to a football game. I see her there in the bleachers. Go up to her. We hit it off at the football game. Took her phone number. Put my phone in there. Texted it to myself. So that's a quick tip for any of you
Classy
youngins.
move.
Yeah, any of you youngins out there that are like wanting to get a girl's number. Okay, here's how you do it. You go up to them and you
They
ask
don't
them
get
for their
numbers
phone.
anymore. Caleb, they don't
Ah,
get numbers. They get snaps now.
okay,
If
okay.
you want to
Well,
know how to get a girl's QR code, it's what the new one is.
If you want to know how to
uh,
get their snap, you open their phone, open their snap, scan their snap with your phone, send yourself a selfie from their phone, and then you're in. But it
then you're in.
disappears, so you got to be careful.
Modern romance.
Yeah, well, back in the ancient days of, I don't know how, like when I was 16,
You
so what, like
memorized her home phone number, and then you got to your rotary phone and you did the and then you called her up.
uh,
Her mom answers, and you have to say, "Is Tori home?"
oh my gosh, yeah, actually that I
Yeah.
remember those like home phone situations.
Oh
But
yeah.
anyways, so I was in the era of the text message, okay? So the trick there was I basically was like, "Hey, can I see your phone?" I put my phone number in it and I texted myself from her phone. And so it was kind of like a sly way of like getting her number without actually having to ask. But I mean, obviously things were going well. I wouldn't have done that if
You
I
got to
was
know her
like
well
she thought
enough
I
to
was
like get
creepy,
her
right? Yeah,
phone.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah, you like exactly right.
You
You
get
can't just ask a stranger,
well,
"Give me your
dude.
phone."
Actually, now too, like we didn't have passcodes back then. Like you got somebody's phone, you were in. You didn't have to
Yeah,
unlock or anything. Now it's like
right.
get their phone, ask their passcode. That's a whole nother
Mm.
layer of
That's
security you
very
got to get
true.
through.
That's very true. It was when you were still texting, but using like the 9 dial pad, to like with the
Little
different
QWERTY
letters.
keyboard, yeah, or the what do they call that?
Gosh, I feel
Where you
old.
had to tap it like a certain number of times to get to the letter. And then they came out with the one where it was like you could just do it once and it would kind of predict what you wanted to say.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
that was cool. I could
That
actually
was
type
cool.
really fast on that.
Yeah. It was way easier to text like under your desk with like those types of phones because you could
Yes.
feel the buttons. Like now, if you try to do it, it's like a screen, right? But you could feel the buttons, and so you could always like text in school, and like the teacher wouldn't see because you had it under the desk, and you could just
Bro,
say
we are
whatever you
so
want.
old. I remember, yes, dude. I had the it wasn't the Razor. Like everyone had the Motorola Razor, like the
Yeah.
flip phone. It was really cool, but I couldn't afford that one, so I got the Sprint Katana instead, which was like
Oh,
Sprint's version of
dang.
the Razor. And I could type so fast with that thing just by
Mhm.
tapping A, B, 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 like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah.
And yeah, to your point, Caleb, like you could do it in your pocket if you're
Yes.
that good. Like you could legit like type one handed in your pocket in class and know
Yes.
what you were sending to somebody.
Yes, and it was so much easier just because you could actually feel the buttons, like that
Oh, I
was the
love that.
key, that was the key.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so that was a little bit of a side tangent, but got her number essentially, and we started texting, became good friends, didn't really make it official for about a year, and then I asked her out at our favorite tea shop. You 2 know the story, but basically I went in that morning, wrote on a receipt, "Will you be my girlfriend?" And I asked the cashier, give this to the girl that I come in with later today. Tori and I go, we order our tea, they hand her the receipt, and she still has that receipt to this day, which is pretty special. And anyways, we go to college together. Then we sold our cars and traveled the world. We basically were like, let's just take all the cash we have and just like make a legendary trip and use all of our
Heck yeah.
money. And basically, we did that. And I asked her to marry me in Thailand. And then we came home and we got married. And that's kind of our story. Now, obviously, we're married, got 2 daughters, and it's been a wild ride, but a huge blessing. And so that's my couple
Dude,
stories.
it's
So I'll,
awesome.
I'll, I'll pass it to
You
one of
guys
you
are so
guys. Yeah.
cool. Well, no,
Yeah.
I want to hear why, like tell how you think that getting married when you
Mm,
did has
yeah.
like kind of affected who you are and in the work you do and sort of like maybe even would you be doing what you're doing, do you think, if you didn't make that choice with Tori?
I just think I'd be such a worse person. Like dead serious. Like
Yeah.
I mean that like wholeheartedly. I think that like for me at least in my personal journey, getting married early, I think legit made me a better person. I think that um as a single person, I don't think I would have like I don't know. I'm trying to find the best words for this, but I just feel like I know myself and I know kind of like I remember myself when I was single and kind of how my brain worked, and it was just like bad. Like I did not like the way that I thought back then. And I think like getting married young, it was a huge challenge. Right. Like I think you have to really shift a lot of your lifestyle and stuff when you get married. And like it's obviously a really big commitment, but I think all of those things helped me become a much better person. When I say a better person, what I'm saying is like I think that I'm just like kinder than I was beforehand. I think that I make better decisions. I think morally and like ethically, I think better as a married person. And
Yeah.
so, uh, yeah, I mean, like I guess what I'll say is like I also am. I know that I'm a people pleaser, in that like I feel like I've overcome a lot of that more in more recent years. But growing up, I was very much a people pleaser, and so what that led to was me making a lot of stupid decisions to try to impress friends and people around me and stuff.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
getting married young, um, I think that Tori challenged me to like do away with that part of myself, right?
Mhm.
And so I don't know. I get almost a little emotional thinking about it because I legitimately think that marrying Tori really changed my life for the better, and I like feel like a healthier individual because of it. And so that in turn led to me being more successful because the only way that you're gonna have a successful like work life and a career life is if you have a healthy like a healthy mind, right? And like a healthy body, and you're making good decisions. And I think being married allowed me to kind of move into making those smarter decisions for myself. So that's at
So
least my
cool.
take on it. I don't know if I explained that well, but I feel like that's how
You
I
sure did. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Super cool. What about you, Matthew?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that you didn't go to that tea shop with your mom like earlier in that day. That would have been awkward.
Like, oh no, I forgot.
Crap. Yeah,
Are you
this wasn't the
sure?
girl. This is not her. This is not her.
Not this one.
Don't do the receipt thing. I was thinking, like, dude, you trusted a minimum wage tea shop employee with a lot of pressure.
Mhm.
That's how
Yeah.
you
That's a
know
lot of
you were born to delegate work, Caleb.
Oh
You
my
were thinking
gosh.
about delegation when you were like just in high school, bro. You're like,
Uh,
Cal, listen, I'll throw you a little extra tip under the table, but I really need this to go right. Okay.
yeah. It was so like for extra context too, this wasn't like a busy Starbucks type shop, right? This was like a
Your
very
local
like
little.
family run local place. So it was like super chill. They and we were regulars there. Like it was our favorite tea shop. So they knew us, you know. So it was kind of like I was
Mhm.
asking like people we already knew, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's cute.
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
All right, Matthew, tell us the story of you and Nicole, and then
All
yeah,
right.
the second part of the story is how has like your marriage kind of
Mhm.
made you the person you are, not only just in general, but like in your career as well.
Yeah. Try not to get emotional.
I know I almost got there for a second. I wasn't thinking I would, but I like as I was explaining it, I was like, dang, I'm starting to get emotional
I was
thinking
getting
about this.
emotional listening to you,
I
dude,
know
because I
this
relate
is
so much with
this
it.
is tough. Saying this like coming off of Valentine's Day yesterday, where like we had a small like not small, sorry, a church small group meeting that we do at like 6 o'clock till 7:30,
Mm.
and then we come home. We have to put Leo down, and then we're like, oh, should we just give each other our cards? Like the romance is still there, I promise, even if it wasn't on a on a Wednesday at 6 o'clock. But
Yeah.
like we can get onto like the effect of kids on Valentine's. Like some of us we get huge inflatable 4 foot bears, and some of us just like survive and sit down and watch tennis. You know, it goes one of the two ways.
Yeah, I feel that, dude.
Oh
I
my
feel that.
gosh. So Nicole and I. So I was still back in England when we first met. My parents moved over to Chicago from England 2012. That was the same year that I um, started my undergrad back in England in
Mhm.
linguistics. And I would come over here for summers, Christmas, anytime I could basically get out of being in England on my own. I was basically like flying out here and spending time here, um, going to church with them, just meeting all the friends, helping out with random stuff. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun those summers, especially. Um, and then 2014, so it's like almost 10 years in a month's time, basically. Um, Nicole is singing at our church, and it's just like,
Oh, well, that
the,
does it right there.
Oh yeah.
Nicole has
There
the
you go.
best voice ever, dude. Like,
yeah,
I haven't heard her
just
sing. I'll have to hear this.
yeah, you don't
yeah.
just like that's all. Matthew could end the story here, and it's like I already just know. You heard the voice, and you're like, I'm going there.
Hmm.
That's it. Nicole
Exactly.
sang at our wedding, Caleb. So
Uh,
she's like everybody at our school growing up was like she's special.
She's got
that's so
it. Yeah.
cool.
So she's up on stage. The lights are on her. I'm like looking up, like this angel is like in front of me. And like I didn't like go up to her or anything because I would have just stumbled over my words. I'm not a smooth man. Let me tell you, I'm not a smooth man. So the fact that I'm even married is
Yeah, but
kind
you
of
have the accent, dude. That
That's
makes
what I
up
was
for
gonna
it.
say, dude. You can walk up and be like, you don't. The accent is smooth, so like it
That's
doesn't matter what you
We're
do. It's
American,
hard.
Matthew. We hear it, and it's like, okay.
Oh. He just
Women
tripped,
love
but man, he did that with such elegance.
I've like introduced myself to people and said their name. You know, it's like, oh hi Lois, I'm no, hi Matthew, I'm Lois, and just like
Oh,
trying to
I
run it.
don't
Yeah,
know.
that happened. That happened to an actual Lois. Not many Loises in the world. Anyway, um, speaking of low population, we need to get the lowest population up. So that was Easter 2014, and obviously I didn't talk to her afterwards, but it always just like stuck with me. And then she winds up at an internship at the same place I was working an internship for in the Easter break. like the next week, that I needed to do for college credit. So we meet there officially and just sort of like talk occasionally, and like it's just in passing. Nothing
Did
like
you mention the angel moment at all?
I certainly did not.
Okay.
Absolutely
You
not.
weren't like,
I
hey,
probably said like, you know, oh, I was at church and heard you sing. It was lovely. I wasn't like drooling or anything like that. But um, yeah, we just like had a couple like casual conversations and that was it. But then that summer, she, and this is also showing her age, but like she followed me on Twitter, and
Okay.
she says that she never does that. She's not someone that just like follows someone just out of the blue.
Ooh.
But she was always like, there was something about him that I was like interested in, so I wanted to like see what he
it
was
was the
like.
accent.
It was the accent. It was definitely the accent.
I mean, that is my best quality. I'll give you that. Um,
Thank you
so
for letting
I,
us give you so much crap about your
oh,
voice, Matthew.
of course, no, absolutely. Please give me all the crap. Keeps me grounded, you know. I'm so egotistic. Um, And then, so I follow her back on Twitter, and then add her on Facebook, and just like message her straight out, and just like, hey, it was really nice meeting you at Easter. Would you want to get coffee sometime? And maybe like Americans aren't as direct as us Europeans. Like, I'm not sure how, but she was just like, who is this guy? Just like asking me straight up to go out for coffee. And so we went for coffee like 3 weeks after that, because she was in Nashville for another internship. And then that was 2 weeks before I was supposed to go back to England, to finish up undergrad. So it was like 4 or 5 dates in 2 weeks. It was like, what's that show? Like 90 Day, like, what's it called?
Fiance.
Yeah, 90
Day
Day Fiance. It felt a bit like that, where it's like, okay, we're on a bit of a time crunch to work out if this is going to work. So let's just get as many dates in as possible.
What did you know your
Um,
end goal while you were like, dating around? Were you like, all right, I got a goal and it's gonna be she wants to marry me by this time? Or were you just sort of like, oh, just seeing how it goes? Because like I think a common theme
mm,
between me and Caleb, and maybe you share this
mm,
too, Matthew, is like I think we both knew it was like
mm,
like eyes on the prize, like tunnel vision, like
yeah,
I'm not gonna take no for an answer sort of thing. Was that how you felt, Matthew? Or were you sort of like, I'm exploring it?
I was much more. I'm pretty shy. I'm not very like headstrong, so I'm much more like, oh, I'd love it if something worked out. So I'm not going to be as like
Yeah.
tunnel vision as you guys. It's more like tunnel vision, but with like the glass ceiling, so you can like look around a bit more.
Okay.
Like at the aquarium and stuff.
Oh, sure.
Uh,
Great
But,
analogy.
but you wanted it to work out. It
yeah,
wasn't like because I think and not to like go back to like kids these days, but I do think there's like this element of like people who date today are
intentionality.
very much just dating to like see if they're the right person for them, right? Like that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of the intention I think between that's all these dating websites. It's like, there's probably a better one out there, probably a better one out there, probably a better one out there. Swipe, swipe, swipe. It's like if I had that mentality at the beginning, like of course you're not going to get married young if you think there's
Mm-hmm.
100,000 other people out there who are potentially better than the person you're currently with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my point is like did you kind of like what was your mindset going into that dating
Mm-hmm.
period? Because for me, it was like once I knew, I was like, I'm going for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. It definitely wasn't like, oh, I'll just settle for this one. It definitely
Right.
wasn't that. I was like shooting for the moon, so it's just kind of
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was more like I'd been in a lot of relationships and it just didn't go well and all this kind of stuff. So I was kind of just like done with the idea of just like dating around kind of thing. I was like, if I'm
Okay.
if I feel like there's a connection, if I feel like it's the right person, then I'm just gonna put everything into it and just go after it.
Just gonna
But
send it.
Just
yeah,
gonna send.
Just gonna send it.
just
Gonna
gonna send it
send
full
it.
send. I mean, I basically did full send it when I was like, "Do you want to just go for coffee?" But
Yeah.
I knew pretty early on that there was something unique about this situation. And she was just a wonderful person. It was more sort of like I've got a lot of anxiety and a lot of like self-doubt about who I am and like my value. So it was more sort of like the why would she want to be with me kind of thing that was holding me back.
Mm.
Just because I didn't see like why Helen of Troy would date Shrek, basically.
Dude, you gotta give yourself more credit.
You got it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
But also, it's the accent.
Yeah, Shrek wasn't voiced by me; it was voiced by a Scotsman. So I've got
Oh,
something
that's
on
right.
Shrek at
That's
least. Yeah,
Donkey.
I'm a
Like
step
if
up
you had
from
showed up
Shrek.
to the coffee and just been like, hey, donkey, then maybe you should have been like,
She's
I never know this guy.
Hello, how you doing? Yeah.
Hello.
But at
oh
that
god.
point, we were both like, when it came to me going back to England, we were both like, we're gonna just go for this, like no half measures. Like
Mm-hmm.
we bonded very quickly. We definitely had a understanding emotionally very early on, and I mean that was September. December, I bought a ring.
Mm.
So,
Dang.
That was fast, dude. Yeah, that was
I
real
love it.
yeah,
fast.
I mean, I was in England. Like we were talking all hours of the night for me. I would basically like go to sleep at
Is this
4
Facebook
a.m.
Messenger?
It
Skype?
was
Oh, yeah.
Facebook Messenger. That was
Yeah.
that was
Facebook
better than
Messenger.
Skype because like Skype
Oh,
was
yeah.
freaking awful.
No, Skype stinks. But like video calls back then had to be like Skype,
You
Yeah.
guys remember AIM?
Oh, yeah,
Oh
dude.
yeah. Don't get me into
Yeah.
my dating history.
AIM,
12-year-old.
MSN Messenger, Yahoo Messenger,
Oh yeah.
Skype, Facebook. I mean, dude, I had them all. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
my words per
MySpace.
minute, I can type because of those things. I'm telling you.
What's my problem then? Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know.
Let's not
You were
get into
thinking too
that.
much. All right,
I
so
was
tell us,
definitely thinking
Matthew.
too much.
Tell us how now being in
Yeah.
being in the marriage for what? How many years are you guys going on?
We just hit
7?
9.
9? Wow, you got married the same year we did. Year after we did.
Year after.
So
Dang.
how do you feel like that's kind of shaped your career trajectory and sort of the confidence you have there as well?
Yeah. I think I kind of alluded to it earlier about like, just like my low self-esteem. Like she's given me confidence, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's given me a sense of self-worth and that I don't need to settle in a professional. I don't need to settle in any way, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't need to settle professionally. And like, if there's something that I love doing and some like people that I love working with, then I'm good enough for that. And
Mm.
um, I was really not in a good place like before her at all. And just looking back like on how 10 years changes a lot, it's pretty remarkable. I was like envisioning just my dream was like start my like magazine or something, but I was probably just gonna end up as some like sad person just floating from like job to job and not really finding my place. But yeah, she just grounded me in a way which gave me confidence, and someone with her as a wife can't help but have confidence, I feel like, because she's
Mm-hmm.
just such a catalyst for life. She just brings everything alive, and my future all of a sudden became a lot more enjoyable to think about, and work became enjoyable to think about because it meant I was, bringing something to a family. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's
that's
awesome, dude.
yeah, that's
Mm.
the
I
big
love
thing.
it. There, you can't understate the value of like having someone in your corner that knows
Mm.
you deeper
Mhm,
than anyone else knows you. Like
So true.
it's not the same as like your parents.
mhm,
I love the bond people have with their parents. I think that's special, of course. But when you've been with someone like, when you've been with your spouse for 10 years and they've watched you grow up, like in our case, where it's like you were a kid when
mhm,
you got married, essentially. I was 20 when I got married. I'm
mhm,
30 now. Like JC knows me deeper and better than anyone because she's
mhm,
seen me grow and change through that time period, and I've seen her grow and change through that time period. So when you have someone like that in your corner that is also saying, "Hey, you are awesome at what you do. Like
Yeah.
mhm,
you're crushing it. I'm here for you. You got this." Like that's all the confidence I ever need. You know what I mean? Like on
mhm,
the days where
mhm,
you get off work and it's just beat down, it's like who better to speak life into you than the person
mhm,
that knows you deeper than anyone else. And
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's another reason why I say, you know, get married when you know that that's the person you want to marry. Don't worry about, do you have the job you're supposed to have? Are you at the place you're supposed to be? Because both you guys just said, like, I didn't really like the person I was before I got married.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Marriage is what changed you and shaped you into who you are now. And I feel the exact same way. Of course, like JC and I's story is a little different because we knew each other in junior high, right? Like it was
Mm-hmm.
like we've known each other, and I'm the type of person where I set my mind on something and it's going to happen. Like I can't not move my mind away from that thing, whether it's like something I
Yeah.
want to buy or whether it's like a job I want or whatever it is. And in high school, JC was that person for me. I was just like, she would never date me in high school. We spent 4 years going back and forth on how she would just turn me down, turn me down, turn me down, lead me on just a little bit, turn me down, lead me on,
Yeah.
say
Just
yes
enough
to
to keep you
me,
interested. Yeah.
just enough to know that she liked the attention, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
enough to be like, you're my boyfriend, which to her credit probably wouldn't have worked out if we did date, you know, like who knows? I was
Mm-hmm.
14
Mm-hmm.
years old. Like what does a dating relationship even look like? So
Yeah.
for me, it was a little bit more like she's really seen me change and grow through the duration of our life. I mean, I started going to church because of JC, but essentially one day I was like, hey, like let's hang out. And she goes, no, but I'll be at youth group on Wednesday and you could sit by me if you want. And that was the first time I ever went to like a youth group, you know? And
That's actually
then,
a really cool story. And like
yeah, fast
shouts
forward
for
a year.
JC.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, yeah. Fast forward a year, I'm leading worship at the youth group. You know what I mean? And it's like seriously, my life trajectory was shifted because of her. And I think like for me, like what it came down to is like there's just something about her that I knew complimented me, and at that time I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was, but now, like having been married for 10 years, you know, I'm like, eh, she is like the yin to my yang, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
she's so opposite of me in so many ways, personality wise, but we're also the same in all of our interests. And like I just couldn't imagine life without her. And so to your guys' point, it's like I don't know what I would be doing, but I definitely know I'd be a much worse person if
Mm.
if I didn't get married to JC and when we did, you know.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think I would be grounded in the way that I am now. I don't think my goals would be as pure as they are. I don't think my heart would be as pure as it is. I think I would have probably gone through like a big phase of like doing things that I wouldn't be proud of, probably,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's what young men have to deal with everywhere, in my opinion. I think that if you
Mhm.
don't have that sort of person or you know faith or whatever it is that anchors you down, like the world is kind of a very tempting place for young men, you know. And so
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
me in my case, it was like that was the best thing I could have ever done is get married to JC, and you know,
Mhm.
not to mention the fact that she's just an amazing human being, like all across the board, you know,
Mhm.
the most
Mhm.
kind, loving, serving person
Mhm.
ever. So anyways, I just wanted to like bring that up because I think it's cool to share in the world of like shiny objects and online dating, and you know, it's almost like fast food for the soul.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
the three of us, I think it's something to be proud of, to stand in the fact that we are all incredibly happy in our marriages, with our spouses, with our families, and doing the thing at 10 years
Mhm.
Mhm.
in. You know, I don't think that gets talked about enough, honestly.
It
I just
really
don't think it
doesn't.
does. So
It really doesn't.
especially not with men. It's not
Mm-mm.
something that grown men sit around and talk about in most circles. So thanks guys
Right.
for sharing your
Of
stories,
course.
and I think it's hopefully it'll be powerful for somebody listening as well.
Totally.
I think
Now on the
it's
flip side of
crazy
it,
that
don't just like go out
we've
and propose, right? But like, you know,
Yeah, that's a
like,
really good point too. Yeah, don't take what we're
Mhm.
saying and just like choose someone just because you're young and you're like,
there's like
I
a
need to get
like a
married.
16-year-old guy listening to this, and he's like, "All right, I found my one in Spanish class." It's like, no, don't do that. Like, don't do that. But
Mhm.
also, don't
Yeah,
close your mind to it either.
No,
that's right.
I think it's crazy that we kind of sidestepped the whole Tinder generation, basically, which is
Mm,
pretty significant. Like I had never had a profile like literally like AIM was my Tinder as like a 14-year-old, you know. And
So
that's it.
true. So true. Like online dating has basically like obviously like blown up big time over the last few years. And so yeah, like for any three of us to try to like enter the dating scene now would just be like freaking like a bat across the head. Like seriously be like, what is
I could
happening?
just picture Caleb at a bar, just like prodding girls with pencils, just like
This worked in high school.
And
Hey,
asking
hey,
them for their phones.
I'm like being the most annoying person possible. Like I'm pretty sure it goes be super annoying and then ask for their phone. That's what I remember.
That's how it worked. That's how it worked.
That's
oh my
good, man.
gosh. Meanwhile, I'm just sat in the corner with the headphones on, listening to Radiohead, crying alone.
Crying, dude. You've got a novel in your back pocket, like a torn up book of poetry that you're just like kind of glancing at every once in a while, then looking around. No, dude, I think the online dating thing, like, I'm very glad I dodged that bullet because I don't know, I just feel like it's superficial, and maybe there's somebody out there that can correct me on this. Maybe somebody out there has found their love of their life and they're happily married.
Well, that definitely happens. I mean, one of
Yeah.
my very good friends throughout high school and college, he ended up meeting his wife on Tinder. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and he
Testimonial for
wasn't like a
Tinder.
big Tinder guy either. Like he was just kind of on the app, like it'd be cool to like get a date or whatever. And then like he goes on a date with
Mhm.
this girl, and then they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna just date," and then they got married, and they're still married to this day. They've got a kid. So,
That's
yeah,
funny. That's awesome.
yeah.
Matthew and I are in a group chat with 4 married men and 1 non-married man, and not to name any names. But this man matched with someone on a dating website, the single guy. Okay, just for context, none of the married men, the single guy. And he puts like his pickup line, or he puts the question that she asked, and he's like, what do I say? And it was so funny because the 4 of us who have like been not in the dating world literally ever or for many years were like,
Yeah.
try this, and we were all like really bought in, like to what they were gonna say. And I think he ended up like having some success with our pickup lines. So just know, maybe we still got it in us, Matthew. But
Drop in the desert and we'll still find water, you know?
that's right, dude. Blind squirrel still finds a nut every now and then. But
Hey, oh.
it's a weird generation, man.
Oh
But
Lord.
all right, cool. Well, this has been a fun one, guys. I'm glad we got to chat through our love stories on this Valentine's Day in the
Mhm.
most
Me
manly
too.
way possible, of course.
Yep.
And yeah, this has been episode 6 of Do Not Disturb. You guys know where to find us.
Just
Caleb,
realized I'm like,
send us off.
oh, look
Oh
at
yeah.
this.
Bah!
I spent more time talking about romance with you guys than I did with my wife yesterday. That's
Yeah,
says it
same.
all.
I gotta go make up for that. All right. Deuces.
Peace.